Disney Revival era, and we're starting with The Princess and the Frog. Now that Disney Animation had a new person in charge, being John Lasseter, he wanted to return to 2D animation for the studio since, his old studio did CGI. And who better to do this return to form than the classics of John Musker and Ron Clements, who have directed so many Disney movies that I'm not even going to count them right there, but you did see a cameo for one of them. And not only is it a return in 2D, it was also the return to the princess musical formula, which Disney had ditched pretty much throughout the entirety of the 2000s. And unfortunately, the 2D wouldn't last. However, the formula of the princess musical would continue to last, but in CGI form. But we'll get to that next time. The film got a unique setting of the American southern city in New Orleans, or Louisiana. The reason why this city was chosen, because they were going to do something different with it. They wanted to do a return to form, but also make it new. So instead of doing a typical European princess movie, they wanted to have a brand new one that starred an African American, and well, the best way to do that, I guess, was in America, because why not? And, there's no better place than New Orleans, because even though I never visited this city, it looks like a really cool place. Like, everything about it is unique, and it has this magical quality, which is what they really liked about it. And plus, John Lasseter's bias towards the city, and yeah, his bias usually overcomes everything else. The film didn't start off too well, because there was a little bit of controversy that people actually forgot about. The original title was called The Frog Princess, who was based off a girl who wanted to become a princess by kissing a frog and then turning into a frog, which is a weird concept, but we'll get to that a little later. People didn't like that title, so it was eventually changed to The Princess and the Frog. However, the original story is called The Frog Prince, but this film is only very loosely based on that fairy tale. In fact, the fairy tale even appears by itself in the movie itself, so it's not really an adaptation. But yeah, they changed the Frog Princess because there's a certain connotation about that, so they changed that for good reason. Also, the character of Tiana wasn't even called Tiana, she was called Maddie. And I guess they thought that was not good. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I guess Tiana is a better name, sounds more regal. Also, her original job was a chambermaid, maiden, and don't need to say anything about that. And yeah, she was changed to a waitress. I don't think anyone's going to complain about any of these changes, but I thought I'd mention them just because there was a little bit of controversy. Though actually the character of Tiana was apparently based off a New Orleans resident who started off as a waitress and got her own restaurant that John Musker and Ron Clements had met in real life and thought, this person's pretty cool, let's put this bit of her in this character, which is always neat to see. For some reason, Oprah was hired on this film as a technical consultant. I don't even sure what that means exactly, but whatever. That ended up getting her the lead role as Tiana's mom. Yeah, I bet Oprah voiced the mom, but now you do. For the look of the film, the main film they went back to was Lady and the Tramp of all movies. Yeah, this is the main one they wanted to get to look like, apparently. It doesn't really look like that based off the character designs, but I guess the backgrounds it does. The other film they looked back to for animation inspiration to get back to the old Disney theme was Bambi. So, two odd choices, but, I guess it worked. Since comparing this film to the previous films that were CGI, it is night and day. I really miss 2D animation. This film is gorgeous. The backgrounds and character animation is top notch. It really makes you miss 2D animation because it does something that 3D animation just really can't do. And the animation is just definitely the highlight of this film. For the music, instead of getting Alan Menken back, I guess they didn't like his job on the last Disney movie he did, which was Home on the Range, but technically he did Enchanted before that, but after that, but whatever. They got Randy Newman instead, who did the soundtrack on many Pixar films beforehand, the score, I should say. And yeah, you can definitely hear Randy Newman's score in the background. It sounds like Toy Story did the score, which is kind of funny. It doesn't really fit that well, but I do like it. The songs in the movie range from masterpiece to okay, I guess. But we'll discuss more about the music at the end of the video, like I always do. The film released with overwhelmingly positive reviews, which was nice for Disney since the last couple films didn't get that highly rated. But box office wise, the film did just okay. It made its money back, but compared to Pixar's Up, which came out around the same time, it didn't underperform. Though looking for Disney, this film has definitely made its money back over time, since it's gained a good amount of following in the merchandise and all their stuff, so this film ended up being a big success, proving that quality overcomes all. You see, Disney, if you make a quality film, people will buy its merchandise long after the films come out. You see how you're supposed to do it? So that's all the production notes about Princess and the Frog. Here's a quick summary of the story. The film is about a girl named Tiana who has a dream of owning her own restaurant after her dad, because her dad wanted a restaurant, but he died. I think he died in the war. I don't know, maybe. While this is going on, a Shadow Man, or Dr. Facilier as he's officially called, cons a prince into becoming a frog. And they meet each other, and he's like, we'll make a deal. I can help you get your restaurant if you give me a kiss so I can turn back into a human. But instead it turns her into a frog, which is a plot point that a lot of people do not like, and the biggest criticism of the film, really. For some reason, in Disney films around this time point, every character that wasn't white, for some reason, would turn into an animal, like Brother Bear, where an Inuit person turns into a bear for most of the movie. A lot of people aren't happy that the first black princess is a frog throughout pretty much most of the movie. It's a shame because her human design is actually a pretty good design, but unfortunately we don't see it that much as the marketing bleeds on. And the opposite is true for Prince Naveen here, who actually looks better as a frog and looks kind of janky as a human. Like, what is this face? At least he doesn't look like this. I don't know what they were thinking with this image. It is a shame since the opening of the film is definitely much stronger than when they become frogs. Because the rest of the film is just them going through the swamp. And yeah, that's okay, but you know, maybe it would have been more interesting if one of them was actually a human. Maybe would it have worked? It's possible, but yeah, Tiana becoming a frog does nothing for this film. There's also a scene where these weird hunter guys try to kidnap the frogs to eat or something. It's kind of never really mentioned again. I mentioned this because I'm actually curious how many people who have watched this film and remember there were these random hunters in the water catching them as frogs. I like to know, because it's something I completely forgot about. It's a shame because the Disney villain of this film is really, really good, and he's very underutilized. In fact, he only interacts with Tiana during one small scene near the end, after he dies, basically. He doesn't die, he dies after the scene, but you know what I mean. Every time he's on screen, it's golden, because he's such a great character. He's great at manipulating people. In a way, you can see kind of his point of view. He makes fun of how there's a bunch of rich people, and how he thinks that he should get a share of that, because he's been shuffling by the seat of his pants, I guess. At the same time, he's working with some evil voodoo spirits, I guess. Honestly, it's somewhat a giant missed opportunity for using this guy again. There is another voodoo user in this film called Mama Odie, who is just not that great a character, and I thought, like, well, maybe they should have a connection between the two other voodoo users. Imagine if they did have a connection. It would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? Like, one's like, they're kind of secretly fighting against each other. That'd be kind of cool, but no, we just have a senile old woman instead. They were trying to do a unique character here, where she's senile but wise, but her wisdom means nothing, and it doesn't really work for me. This character kind of sucks. She's basically useless to the characters anyway. None of the things that the characters have learned that she's trying to teach them really comes from her at all. They just kind of figure it out for themselves, so she's kind of a useless character. And then the end, she's like, oh, I see, I told ya! Even though she really didn't, so fuck you, Mama Odie. But really, all that stuff is nitpicks. There's also two side characters, who's the alligator guy, I forget his name, and Ray, who's the little bug. And he's an okay character. He's Cajun, and he dies. Yeah, the villain just steps on one of the funny side characters. When does that happen in a Disney movie? It's kind of jarring, especially his reaction. Like, oh, that smells like I'm walking away. But it's kind of ruined by the fact that he apparently dies like 20 minutes later after getting crushed to death. Like, what the fuck? How did that happen? There's like one whole scene that goes on in between him dying and him actually dying. Like, it's kind of confusing. Oh well. Yeah, his death isn't paced out very well, especially since it's supposed to be an emotional crux of the film. It doesn't really work when the pacing is so weird. Alright, that's enough nitpicking. What else is good about this film? Well, the relationship between the two main leads as frogs is actually pretty good. Not just as them as frogs, but as humans as well. It's one of those that they actually built up and actually have a unique connection. They're opposites, but they grow from each other, and it's nice. You like to see that in movies. It's nice to see healthy relationships. I mean, he learns a lot more from her than she does from him, but you know, it's a nice relationship, alright? It's nice to see two people fall in love as frogs before falling in love with humans. That's a great way of knowing a relationship's gonna last. Also, one of the main plot points is that they gotta kiss, well, the guy has to kiss this one girl, because she's technically the princess, but only for a day. I don't know how long that lasts, or what the magic requirement is, but then it fails, so I have no idea what the point of that was. But besides that, this character is really great, she's really funny, and it's nice to see a nice character that is not an animal sidekick that also acts as that, even though I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying right now. I'm saying is that this character is funny, and she's also, oddly enough, very attractive. I don't know, is that just me being weird? Actually, they're both very attractive, I don't know what I'm saying. Like, see, they should make a threesome of this. That exists, don't look it up. Seriously, don't look up Tiana and Charlotte together in this scene. It will scar you. It didn't scar me, but it made me feel weird. I gotta mention this one weird scene where, like, wow, he likes me, but then she's like, oh, he is a human pretty quickly, gonna kiss the girl, and he's like, well, you would turn human too, but it just seems kind of pointless. It's one of those scenes where they need to have an Act 3 breakup, but it ends, like, 10 seconds afterwards, so what was the point? It's oddly enough feels like it's stolen straight out of the Little Mermaid scene where a similar thing happened, except here it makes way less sense. It actually made sense in Little Mermaid, but here it makes no sense. It feels forced and contrived, and it honestly should have been cut out of the movie. There's enough conflict in the movie. You didn't need to have a misunderstanding for 20 seconds in the film. But yeah, this film has quite a few problems, but it overcomes those problems with a great animation, great characters, and great music for the most part. It's a unique Disney animated film where it feels similar but also unique and new in certain ways. If you haven't seen it, then what are you doing? Go watch it. It's on Disney+. Though I watched it on DVD, because I like physical media. I didn't mention this during Bolt, but this is that was technically the last one, but this is going to be the first time we're not going to say there's no direct-to-video sequel to this, because they stopped doing that around this point in time. If there's going to be a sequel, it's going to be theatrical. Alright, there is no theatrical sequel to Princess and the Frog. Alright, now let's go on to other media. For media, we have something that hasn't even come out yet. We have to wait for next year. It's going to be a TV show called Tiana, which is basically a sequel to Princess and the Frog, but as a TV series. Maybe it'll be like the Tangled TV show and be pretty good. We'll see. It has two returning voice actors for Tiana and her mom, who's Oprah. Yeah. So, who knows? Hopefully it'll be good. Sometimes these TV shows actually are pretty good. Does any of the TV shows based on movies been bad? I don't think so. Emperor's New Groove show sucked. Their other ones have been good. If you didn't know, this film has a Wii game that's also on PC, and this animation does not look very good. This game is a collection of random mini-games, like cooking and dancing games, so yeah, that's something, I guess. It looks like a knockoff of Cooking Mama, and it can't be Cooking Mama, because Cooking Mama's the best. Yeah, this doesn't look very good. If you want something completely different, well, there is a DS game, which actually is a platformer. This is one of the only times where the DS version of a game actually looks better than the main console version, at least for the Disney games, that is. I'm sure there's better of a DS version of other video games, but so far what I've seen of the Disney ones, this one, it doesn't look great, but the Wii game looked awful. Splash Mountain is one of the most popular rides at the Disney parks. Now, having said that, this ride is one that was controversial, mostly because for some reason they decided to make it themed based off Disney's most infamous movie, Song of the South, which is a film that has never really been re-released ever outside of its initial theatrical run. And it's not really that bad of a film. In fact, a lot of the problems with the movie aren't even here in the ride itself, because it doesn't feature any of the human characters, just the characters inside the storybook animation area of the film. But either way, it was controversial for even basing it off a movie so infamous that Disney's never going to release it. But yeah, this ride, Splash Mountain, was popular. However, after some incidents in American politics, they decided that they were just going to change it out entirely, even though the ride was mostly harmless. And it was changed over in Disneyland and Disney World parks to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Same ride layout, but now it's a brand new theming. So yeah, what that means is that anybody who's in Tokyo still has the original Splash Mountain, but people in Disneyland and Disney World, well, they now have a re-themed ride to Princess and the Frog. For what I've seen, this ride's had mixed reception. A lot of people liking the new animatronics, and some of the retheming was good. However, the ride is a little lackluster in plot and stakes, unlike the original Splash Mountain. There is no Dr. Facilier here in this ride, making the ride seem not as thrilling, even though there's a giant drop in it, so yeah, they kind of messed the ball on that one. It just basically, like, take place after the movie, and they're like, hey, find my ingredients, and that's pretty much it. People aren't a big fan of that, but oh well. The ride has some great new animatronics, and it looks lovely. It's just that some people are always going to have a bias to the original Splash Mountain, and some of the changes aren't that great. It could have been done a little bit better. The CGI animation is just jarring, especially since the film's 2D animated, but other than that, the ride's fine. Like, why is it 3D? It should be 2D. Come on, Disney. How'd you fail that bad? The most interesting thing that they add about Princess and the Frogs at Disneyland, known as Tiana's Palace, actually going to the restaurant from the film, is pretty cool, actually. I would actually like to go here, because they really hyped up the restaurant in the film, and it would be actually cool to actually eat there. And yeah, it's only at Disneyland, though, so anyone else has to go travel to California. Also in Disneyland, there's a shop that apparently Tiana's mom opened up. That's the lore around it, I guess. This is the New Orleans section of the park, in case you didn't know. Disneyland has a section, New Orleans Square, which is not in Orlando Park for obvious reasons, because why would Orlando have a New Orleans section if it's really close to New Orleans? But California isn't close to New Orleans, so it has a New Orleans section. It's just a basic, a little small shop, but there's some more Princess and the Frog stuff for all you people who like it, which is a lot of people, because it's a good movie. Also in Disneyland is a place called Ray's Berets, where you can buy hats from a firefly. I'm not sure why would you want to buy a hat made for a firefly, but I guess you can. And another shop is Lewis's Critter Club, which is the main shop for the Princess and the Frog stuff. This is actually a big one that's located in Disneyland, where the old Splash Mountain shop used to be. And it's a basic shop, but, New Orleans themed, Princess and the Frog themed. The typical stuff. The Disney World version of this store is called Critter Co-op. I don't know why it's called that, but whatever. It's the same thing as the Disneyland one, except Disney World. So there you go. And the last Disney Park thing in the last store, there's a lot of stores in this, isn't there, is Tiana's General Store, I believe it's what it's called. I forgot the title, actually. But yeah, she has a store right next to her ride where you can buy goods, I guess. It's kind of weird, but yeah, there it is. Alright, now it's time for the ranking. This is taking longer than I thought, but that doesn't matter, because we are having fun. Anyway, I put Princess the Frog at the top of B tier. It has a little bit too much flaws for an A tier for me. I feel like they had a rewrite, I always say that, but this one really could have a little tweak and rewrite. It would be up there in A tier. It's still pretty good, but when I see random 3 guys hunting frogs, it takes me out a little bit of the film. Pacing's a little off. However, it's one of those films where when you're not watching it, you're like, yeah, it's pretty good. But when you are watching it, this is good, but there's a couple flaws. I'm not sure if everyone else had that experience where they see a film that they like, but they realize, like, man, he's kind of taking me out of the film. And they not watching the film, they're like, yeah, that was a good film. It's one of those films, if that makes any sense. It's one of those films I do recommend you watching, especially if you're a Disney fan. If you're a Disney fan and you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing. Go watch it. Anyway, we got the Princess ranking. I haven't been in this tier section in a long time because Disney really hated bringing out princess characters for whatever reason that was. The last one was Kita in Atlantis, which was actually not that while ago for you guys, but in movie terms it was. So yeah, I got 2 here actually, believe it or not, because the film counted one of them, so I'm going to count her too. Tiana is in top of the A tier, almost S tier, but maybe I'll think about it. Great character design. She has a lot of unique outfits in the movie, which is good for all those merchandising opportunities, despite the fact that she spends most of the time as a frog, which is kind of funny. And then I got Charlotte LeBouf, is her name. Her dad's John Goodman. I mean, that's good. She's funny, and she's hot, oddly enough, which is kind of weird. But, yeah, A tier. Nothing else to say here, so let's go on to the villain ranking. In the top tier, we got Dr. Facilier. In the S tier, Keith David. But that's all I gotta say about that character. Super cool. His shadow's his own sidekick. I don't know what to say. That's just really cool. He probably would have been higher if he was more in the film. He's not in the film enough. He's such a great character. Come on. He does have a other sidekick that is in his shadow, and that's Lawrence, who was the assistant to Naveen, but he's a fat, schlumpy guy who pretends to be Naveen, who isn't white, and he transforms into a guy who isn't white. I'm not sure what nationality Naveen is, but either way, a white guy turning into a nut guy who's a different race, that's definitely very questionable. And because of that, he gets into the C tier. He's a simp, and he deserves to be in C tier. He's nowhere near as cool as Dr. Facilier, and that's why he's a C tier. So, starting off the tier list on the song sound side of the film, I don't know what I'm saying, is the F tier. Yeah, there's an F tier song. Well, as you can see in the E tier, there's nothing there. And D tier, I don't think there is any. Maybe there is an D tier, who knows. Anyway, no. Never Knew I Needed. Is that the actual song title? I typed that in right, didn't I? That's what it's called. Never Knew I Needed. This song, you're probably like, what is this song? I don't remember that song in the movie. It's the credit song. It's sung by Neo, and that's all you need to know. Awful 2000s pop song, not the early 2000s alternate rock, which I like a lot in the old credit song. We're going to the 2010s pop era, my least favorite genre of music, and this is just auto-tune, terrible lyrics, generic, doesn't fit the film's feel at all. It's just garbage, flat out awful. So that's why it's an F tier. I couldn't even listen to it for very long because the auto-tune and the electronic stuff is just getting on my nerves. I hate that style of music. Sorry, anyone who likes it. I think you have terrible taste in music. Anyway, we're going back to top of D tier. Is our next 2 songs, which is a giant leap up. And we've got Gonna Take You There, which is it's a short and kind of repetitive song. They just say they're going down to Bayou, and that's most of it. Nothing too great there. It's okay. Dig a Little Deeper is a song that has very weird messaging, where the Mama Odie's like just sings, and she can't really sing that well. She has to have Tiana carry her at the very end of the song, and she does a weird dance, and dig a little deeper, just weird. She sucks. So her song is just not very good. I mean, it's okay. Then in C tier, we got the next two songs. Down in New Orleans. I'm a big fan of the way the guy sings it. The rest of the song is fine, and the rephrase, which is basically the same exact lyrics, is way better. But that's because there's a better singer singing it. The regular song, it's fine, but the guy he's too relaxed and it doesn't put a lot of emotion to it. It's kind of just like, eh. If it was for the animation, the opening sequence, then you probably forgot about this song entirely. And then we got My Belle Evangeline. I hope I said that right. I'm not very good at communication, if you couldn't tell by these videos. The song's nice. It's not too spectacular. Ray's not that great a singer, which is why his other songs in D tier. But it's a nice little number, but it could be better. I mean, that's what happens when you're doing a Cajun accent trying to sing. I mean, you're never going to turn out that well, but whatever. Then we skip away to A tier for our next three songs. Yeah. A Down in New Orleans reprise, which is a lot shorter than the original version, but Tiana's singing it, and she can sing her ass off, so there you go. Speaking of sing her ass off, almost there. It's like, these songs are almost like really good, but I feel like there's maybe a little boost. Like, Almost There should really be an S tier song. Well, I listen to it. It's very good, and the sequence animation style changes, and it's really nice to see. I like that. But yeah, it's a pretty good song, but nothing. But it's not spectacular enough to be an S tier. And When We're Human is a song that I surprisingly like a lot. It's very catchy, and I just like it. It's nice. It's a nice Disney ditty. And yeah, A tier. And the S tier song, which is near the bottom of S tier, because it slows down a little bit too much for me during the middle. But it's a villain song. Friends of the Other Side. It is so good. The ending of it is so great. I love it. The animation's amazing. I just wish it wasn't so slow during the middle section of the film. The part of the song. But yeah, it is great, fantastic, and it might have been boosted higher if it wasn't for the fact that it, like I said, slows down way too much during the middle section. But the ending and beginning are so great. Listen to it if you haven't. And that's all I gotta say for Princess and the Frog. Great film, great songs, great characters, but a little too much issues there that stopped me from bringing it really high up. But it's a great start, and the next film does a lot of the elements that Prince Frog did, but even better. Or the animation. The animation of Prince Frog's better than this movie. And what is that next movie? It's Tangled. I will see you then. Happy Mardi Gras. It's not Mardi Gras, but happy whatever it is.